if you guys have a cell phone, if you could just turn the ringer off there, that'd be great. Just a reminder.
Scrivens isn't. No.
Oh my gosh. All right, it looks like we're on. So welcome, good evening. Welcome to the July 23rd, 2020 City Council meeting for the city of Xenia, Ohio. At this time, we have an invocation by Dr. Wallace, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Rebecca Dean. If we could all stand, please.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather as the Xenia City Council. We thank you for the President Wesley Smith and the leadership that he provides to council. We thank you for our city manager and all of our appointed officials. We particularly thank you tonight, Lord, that we've got President Jack Thomas with us as the new president of Central State University. And we thank you that he's able to come and be with us tonight and share some of his vision for Central State with us, and we with him a vision for continued relationship between Xenia and Central State. Lord, please just be with us as we deliberate on the city's business. Bless all of our city and keep our numbers low, Lord. As I listened today to the governor, I heard so many counties are red with the increase of the COVID-19 cases, but we still in Greene County are doing well, and we thank you for that and pray for all of the state of Ohio, all the world, Lord, that is still fighting this COVID-19 pandemic. Lord, we pray that you would just take over and guide the researchers and help all of us, Lord, as we do those things that are pleasing to you and are helpful to us, that we can stay safe. Lord, be with us now as we deliberate is our prayer in Jesus' matchless name. Amen, and amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much, Vice President Wallace, for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Dean. At this time, could I ask for a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace?
Here.
Councilman Scrivens? Councilwoman Dean?
here.
Councilman Branham?
Here.
Councilman Dean?
Here.
Mayor Mays?
Here.
President Smith?
Here.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we excuse Councilman Scrivens, who's out ill tonight, and I'm sure he's very ill because I'm confident he did not want to miss the opportunity to meet with President Thomas.
Thank you very much. Move to excuse Councilman Scrivens. Do we have a second, please? Second by the mayor. I did talk to Councilman Scrivens earlier today, and he did not sound real well, so hopefully he'll feel better sooner than later. And any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call for the exclusion.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Our next item is approval of minutes from the July 9th, 2020 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes, please?
Council President,
Yes.
we're having a little trouble picking you up
Okay.
to the microphone.
All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by the mayor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Dean. Thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace?
Abstain due to my absence.
Councilwoman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is a special presentation. I'd like to introduce Dr. Jack Thomas, President of Central State University. Mr. Thomas, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. To Mayor Mays, President Smith, and other members of the council, I'm honored to be here tonight to be here at this meeting. I'm honored. let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I am Jack Thomas. I'm a native of Lowndes County, Alabama. I grew up on a small farm in a town called Calhoun. And Lowndes County sits between Selma and Montgomery, Alabama. So the Civil Rights March came right through my county, my hometown. My sister became the first African-American female mayor of Hayneville, Alabama, which is the county seat. And I grew up about 42 miles from Troy, Alabama, where Congressman John Lewis grew up. And my mother said to me at an early age that she wanted somebody in the family to do something a little different from what she and my father had done. They had to work in the fields and deal with the tumultuous battles of civil rights. And she said, son, I want you to finish high school and go to college. And that's exactly what I did. I finished high school and I went to college. My goal was to be a high school English teacher because I had a great African-American male who was my English teacher. But once I got to college, a place similar to Central State University, I met a professor who said, you need to go on and get a master's degree. So I went to Alabama A&M to do my bachelor's in English, and then I went to Virginia State University to do a master's. These are two 1890 land-grant institutions, similar to where I serve as president, and I'm going somewhere with this.
All right.
I did my master's there, and I met another African-American male there who said, you should go on and do a PhD. I said, really, you think I could do that? And he said, yes. So I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania, another land-grant institution. So I said all of that to say that 1890 land-grant institution as well as 1862, land-grant is in my DNA. And I'm honored to serve as the new president of Central State University. I spent the last 8 years as president of Western Illinois University. Prior to that, I spent years at Middle Tennessee State University. Prior to that, I spent 14 years at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, and I served as interim president there. And that's also an 1890 land-grant institution. Anyway, I'm delighted to be here. I am honored that the Board of Trustees at Central State University chose me as the 9th president. I was interested in Central State University because of my background and my history, and I say again that it's an 1890 land-grant institution, and had it not been for a public, historically black institution like Central State University, I would not be standing before you today. We have very lofty goals at Central State. I have stated that we have at least 9 goals for Central State. We want to make sure that we recruit the best and brightest students. We want to start an honors college at Central State University. And not just to recruit the best and brightest, but we want to do targeted enrollment, targeted recruitment, where we get those students that have high ACT and high grade point averages, but also those students who have in the mid-range students, like I was a mid-range student, and also those students who may be borderline, but also meet our standards. And when we recruit students, we want to make sure that they process on to graduation. We want to see them graduate, so we have to put in various kinds of academic kinds of programs, academic support services to make sure that our students are successful. Another goal is to make sure that we enhance our overall retention and graduation rates. And that will be done by the kinds of students that we recruit, as well as the various kinds of programs that we put in place so that our students can be successful. So we want to make sure that we recruit them, we do a good job recruiting. We want to do a good job by educating students to prepare them and provide them with the quality and well-rounded education, and then to make sure that they graduate and go on to graduate and professional school and into their careers. We will start graduate programs at Central State University as well. We want to create a School of Graduate Studies where we will have selected master's programs and then a couple of doctoral programs as well. And from there, we want to create we want to have a recruitment, and we want to make sure that we have fundraising. We want to do fundraising at Central State University. You may have just read that I donated $50,000 of my salary to Central State University for scholarships for our students. Many of our students come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. Many of them are first-generation college students, and we want to make sure that we have things in place for them to be successful. A lot of students leave the university not because of grades, but because of finances. And then looking at what we're dealing with now in the COVID-19, a lot of parents are not able to work. So we know that that's going to be a challenge for students to come back in the fall. I've also created a Blue Ribbon Task Force. And in this Blue Ribbon Task Force, we have individuals who are from a broad range of in higher education, from those who are in the 1890s, 1890 land grants out of Washington, D.C., as well as presidents, deans, directors, and chairs, and people who have elaborate backgrounds in higher education. They're doing an assessment of the university. We have a transition team at the university to help me along the way, but that consists of faculty and alumni, and I think even students as well. But I created my own Blue Ribbon Task Force, those individuals who can look at the institution from the outside and give us input on the things that we should do. And that will help us in terms of creating our new strategic plan for Central State University to tell us what we want to do and how we're going to get there. And that new strategic plan committee will consist of faculty, staff, students, alumni, and even you, community members, on that task force. And we want to make sure that that task force come up with great ideas about what we're going to do in terms of charting the future for Central State University. When you look at Central State University, you may ask, what's Central State known for? We want to carve a niche. An institution cannot be everything to everybody, but an institution can carve its own niche. As you all know, I go back to it again, we are an 1890 land grant institution, and we want to focus on our mission. Some of our signature programs are water resource management, agricultural education, and we eventually want to start an MBA online, and other academic programs, what we consider to be cutting-edge kinds of academic programs that will give the university a competitive edge. And also, we want to continue to build upon the online, as we have an agreement in terms of Union Plus program with a number of students online, and we're looking forward to building up on that to create more students. We do plan to be open this fall. We plan to be open face-to-face as well as online. We've created an IRT, which is an institutional response team. That response team has been working, I think, since the pandemic hit. And I've been involved ever since I was named in February. I haven't been getting paid, but I've been working since February, since I was named. So a number of people have been reaching out, and I've been working with the board members as well as my predecessor, Dr. Jackson Hammond, and the leadership team. I've made some recently changes in our leadership team, and I've made that known to the university community. Right now, we're advertising for several positions at Central State University. And we want to continue to do partnerships with the city of Xenia, as well as our surrounding communities, business and industry. We need your help at Central State University. And I've said those things in terms of the green kind. That's the reason I have green on today, because I'm seeking money as well. But the $50,000 that I donated, I was looking for a $50,000 match. Any of you can do that and make us happy. Also, once we do that, I'll be seeking $1 million. And then we will start a comprehensive capital campaign. We're doing the legwork. We'll be doing the legwork to see how much we can raise. But we need your help once we kick off that campaign. And the $50,000 is just a donation to make sure that individuals know that I am committed to what I'm doing at Central State, that I'm committed, I believe in the vision, the mission of this institution. And I look forward to working with all of you, and we look forward to rolling out our goals and our plan and our vision for Central State University. And I often say that, I go back to Jim Collins in his book entitled Good to Great. Central State University is a good university. We want to do all that we can do to make it a great university. And that involves everybody. The Wilberforce community, as well as Xenia and all of the other communities around, and not just here in our region, but also in the state and throughout the nation and the world. Central State is known, but we are a force to be reckoned with. I want you to know that. We have a lot of lofty goals, and we will achieve our goals. I'll stop right there. And I'll be happy to entertain any questions or concerns that you may have.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Thomas, for that presentation. Would any one of our council members like to ask a question to President Thomas?
Have you met our colleague that's missing tonight yet, Councilman Scrivens, Tommy Scrivens?
I have not.
He's also a Centralian, and I know he has to be mighty sick not to be here tonight, because I'm sure he would have loved to have met you face to face and told you about his dreams. Of course, I guess the first question I've gotten, I'm almost reluctant to ask this question, but it's how you feel about the annexation of Central State to the city of Xenia.
Well, you're asking me a very loaded question. I have received letters and calls and all that, but I'll just deal with what I think is best for the university. I think that when we look at the annexation, it will save us at least $400,000 a year, and it will help us in terms of looking at business and development kinds of opportunities, various kinds of partnerships, and it will help when we look at our students. We are a student-centered university, and I often say that we're not student-run, but every decision that is made is with the students' best interests at heart. That the students want amenities, and we want to provide those amenities for our students.
Awesome.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really look forward to hearing a lot more exciting things about the university and partnering with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Next up on our agenda is audience comments. So I would like to entertain if anyone in our audience tonight would like to come to the podium, address City Council, give us your name and address for the record. Limited audience tonight. Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to go ahead and start with some emails that we have received, our city clerks received. Some of these just recent today, some of these a little bit a few days ago, and were possibly forwarded to the rest of the council. Our first one came in on Wednesday, July 22nd. Dear Xenia City Council, my name's Donald Branham at 2355 Tennessee Drive. I'd like to bring up issues regarding that him and his neighbors are facing. His street has turned into a mini kill care. He's afraid someone's going to get hurt. I've reached out to city staff and dispatch. Nothing has seemed to be done. The digital speed limit sign was posted for a few weeks, and that has been the extent of it. Our street has no posted speed limit sign and is patrolled minimally. With the new growth at the end of Tennessee Drive, the problem has only worsened. That's followed up by another email. Me and my family has bought our property at 2014, and we have lived here in spring of 2015. Since then, we have had many issues with people driving recklessly down the street of Tennessee Drive and side streets as well. They absolutely fly down our street with no regard to people's safety. I have called Xenia PD dozens of times. There still is no resolve. I feel that these issues of people driving recklessly, know that there's very little patrolling of these streets, and I'm very concerned if something doesn't change, someone could get hurt or killed. That's followed up with another email. I live, some of these aren't signed. Oh yeah, well, some of them do have the name of the resident at the top. I'll make sure the clerk puts that in the record. This third one, I live on the corner of Tennessee Drive in Illinois. I have some concerns about speeding that happens on Tennessee Drive. It seems like there's always people speeding on Tennessee, and have almost seen a few accidents almost happen because of speeding. People ride their bikes, almost get hit because of this. This has been ongoing. Again, reiterating some of these concerns. Our last one is Courtney Sparks, who live at 2350 Tennessee Drive. We're concerned about how fast cars are driving down our road. Also, there is someone who drives a four-wheeler down our road very fast and often. So I just would put these in the minutes. And then my recommendation is, Mr. City Manager, will you follow up with our police chief? And would you like to speak on this?
Yeah, if I could. So we've gotten complaints from at least one of those residents mentioned in the past few months, and to the extent that we can take some affirmative action, we've done that with respect to the speed, what we call the speed trailer, speed wagon, to monitor speed and let people know when they're speeding. We've done that. We've done some targeted, some stepped up enforcement with the police division. So the steps that are reasonable within the bounds of what we can do, we have done. If the issues are continuing, there are some other things that we can consider. We've already looked into, and in fact, I've already ordered public service to place some additional speed limit signs on Tennessee. Typically, Xenia, like most communities, we don't put residential speed limit signs up and down residential roadways. It's, you know, we know it's 25 miles per hour through those sections, but again, to reinforce that, we're going to put those in. Also looking at the possibility of placing more permanently some of the, I don't know what the technical name is, but the digital signs, your speed is this and you are in exceedance of the speed limit. So we're looking at that. Of course, those run a couple $1,000s a piece, so we can't put a lot of those and we can't put them everywhere. We've had folks that have asked about speed bumps. It has never been the policy of this city to put speed bumps in, because we will get complaints about damages to vehicles within minutes of you placing those in. It's something we can guarantee. It also has a real adverse effect on our emergency response vehicles that come through. Snow plows that come through are damaged by those speed bumps. So it's not something that the city has pursued in the past, and I cannot recommend that we do that. It would just be a difficult thing to manage. So to the extent that we can take some additional steps, we're looking into that. Would love to be able to park an officer out there all day, every day. We simply don't have enough officers on the streets to be able to do that. Where it's available, we can target some enforcement for a period of time. But I think, part of this also comes back on community members to police themselves, have some self-control and some respect for the local ordinances where those speed limits are. So we certainly encourage that. But again, some steps we'll be taking, and we'll reach out to those residents.
All right, thank you very much. Our next item is Old Business Resolution 2020-S, which is the second reading. This authorizes the city manager to execute a use agreement with JV Cedar Properties, LLC, for the use of city-owned bike trail property located adjacent to 607 North Detroit Street. And this was introduced by Councilman Dean on July 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move for passage.
Thank you. Move for passage. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by the mayor. Any discussion on this resolution? All right, seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean,
Aye.
Councilman Branham,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Our next item is a public hearing. At this time, I'm going to read ordinance 2020-17, which amends sections 1220.02, 1220.03, 04, and table 1222-3, 1222.05, 1224.01, C, 1228.03A, 1228.04C, 3, C7, and C8, bingo, and 1244.02. And this is repealing section 1226.01B3 of the City of Land Development Code. And so before we go any farther, I'm going to open this up to city staff report.
Again, we've had several discussions on this particular legislation intended to bring or to maintain contemporary standards within our code, to designate things such as some of the building requirements in a manner that is convenient and appropriate for our businesses, and then also to provide some expedience for things like allowing contractors to be able to sign on behalf of the petitioning resident for different types of activities. Again, all intended to make the process smooth and easy, expedite things in the interest of doing business at the speed of business. So again, we encourage public hearing and ultimately the passage of these changes.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone would like to speak in favor of the amendments. All right, seeing no one. Anyone who would like to come forward and speak against the amendments? Okay, seeing no one on either, I will close the public hearing. Oh, wait a minute. Before I close the public hearing, any of our members here on council would like to speak on behalf of this item?
I just want to thank Planning and Zoning for all their hard work that they put into this, and thanks to Brian as well. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Councilman Branham, I appreciate that. So I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and mention that we have had this item introduced by Councilman Branham on 7/9 of 2020. Would you still like to introduce that?
Yeah, I'd like to move for passage.
Thank you. Move for passage.
Second.
Do we have a second by Vice President Wallace? Could I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean,
Aye.
Councilman Branham,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Smith,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you very much. Our next item is new business ordinance 2020-18 titled Emergency. This is amending ordinance 2020-12 to provide appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of Xenia, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020, declaring an emergency. Mr. Duke, could you please enlighten us?
Thank you, Council President. There are three reasons that we're requesting an additional appropriation here this evening. The first is related to a second 911 subgrant that has been awarded for an amount totaling $129,500.09. There was, of course, an initial grant that we were awarded, and because of that grant, we aren't spending as many of the 911 dollars as what we had thought we would initially need to spend on the project. This second grant, again, allows us to leverage other dollars, grant dollars, to improve our dispatch center. And so we need to appropriate those additional dollars that we didn't originally intend to spend, most of which are grant dollars. The second reason that we're requesting an additional appropriation is related to the CARES Act funding. We've created a new fund to track that funding, and we need to go ahead and appropriate those dollars so that they can be spent. Much of this $947,527.88 that we're allocating will actually be charged back to other funds where dollars have already been spent, like, for example, in public safety, to cover some of those salaries and wages. And then the third and final reason that we're requesting an appropriation tonight is related to some grant dollars, CDBG grant dollars, for fair housing. There were some dollars that were set aside in 19. Not all of those dollars were spent, but all of them do need to be spent down in order for us to close out that grant. So we're asking that those dollars that weren't spent in 19 be encumbered now in 2020 so we can spend the remaining $3,116.67. on fair housing. And we're requesting that council pass this as an emergency.
All right, thank you, Mr. Finance Director. Do I have a motion to approve
So moved
the
as an
ordinance as emergency? Thank you, Dr. Vice President Wallace. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by the mayor. Any discussion or comments regarding the emergency ordinance? See none, could I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Our next item is ordinance 2020-19, an introduction. This is enacting section 23808 titled Use of Division Emblems of the City's Administration Code as contained in Part 2 of the codified ordinances of the City of Xenia. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. In the age of social media and with digital technology being what it is, it's all too easy for individuals or groups to misrepresent themselves, particularly online, or to otherwise use city logos or titles inappropriately. And with this in mind, staff is recommending that council introduce and ultimately enact legislation creating section 238.08 of our Xenia codified ordinances, which would establish in our code the public safety logos for fire and police divisions and restrict their use for official purposes only or as otherwise approved by the public safety director. We recommend consideration of this new code section with an introduction this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to, I'm sorry, we're looking for an introduction. Who would like to introduce that tonight?
I'll introduce that.
Introduced by Councilman Dean. Thank you very much. I would mention the city of Xenia Schools, Xenia Community Schools has implemented the same policy with the use of their school logos. Our next item is Resolution 2020-T, also an introduction. This is authorizing a 3-year lease of space in the City Administration Building to the Regional Income Tax Agency. Mr. Finance Director.
Thank you, Council President. Several items related to this transition to RETA have come before council for your consideration already. I believe this is actually the last piece that we'll have to bring to you for some time. This deals with the lease of space to RETA here in our building. We are expecting that starting September 1st, RETA would take over the responsibility for collecting city municipal income tax, and they would have a location here in our city admin building in the same area where tax and utilities operates today. There will be some additional furniture that RETA is purchasing that would help to divide that space between tax and utilities. And this lease agreement helps to facilitate that. It is a 3-year agreement with some additional parameters for extending it for additional terms after that 3-year period. We are requesting that council introduce the passage of this resolution this evening.
So introduced, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Have an introduction by Vice President Wallace. Thank you. Our next item is also an introduction, Resolution 2020-U. This is authorizing a 15-year lease of the upper floor of Xenia Station to the Xenia Area Chamber of Commerce. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. It has been a standing policy of this council that staff pursue ideas and actions that reduce cost, increase operating efficiency, and promote public-private partnerships. And it's with this in mind that we're pleased this evening to present council with Resolution 2020-U, which, if approved, would authorize execution of a lease agreement with the Xenia Area Chamber of Commerce. As indicated, it would provide, through the lease, a portion of the Xenia Station facility for their offices. Staff recommends City Council introduce and ultimately approve the resolution to allow the Chamber this opportunity, which is a cost-effective opportunity for us, and which we feel that, one, not only provides some revenue to help offset the operating cost of that facility, but by having a more regular presence at the facility, it will promote the security and the safety of that facility. As you know, just recently we had some damage and vandalism in the front door of Xenia Station, and so our belief is, while we can't completely eliminate that or prevent it, that this will substantially reduce the abuse or misuse of that facility, while again providing a location for the Chamber to headquarter their operations that they believe will be a much better platform to make the business case for our community. So we've had a lot of discussion with the Chamber, and they think this will work, and we think it's a good opportunity, so we present the option to Council this evening for consideration.
All right, thank you very much.
The one thing that must have missed is how much rent they will be paying.
I think it's in the report. I
Bottom
think
of
it's
page
$475 a month, and they have to offset any taxation costs that the city would incur with
If you
that.
turn to the next page, it's item 5, down below, on the right page. It's in paragraph 5 there. So do we know what their plans are for their current facility?
I don't think I do. I think there was some discussion about the chamber looking to divest from that to give them some seed money that they could then put toward longer-term recruitment and projects for their operations. So I can't speak specifically, but
Sure.
the last conversation I'd had, that's what their intention was.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? All right, seeing none, who would like to introduce
Oh,
that?
I'll introduce him.
Introduced by Vice President Wallace. Thank you very much. Our
That
next,
was the only question I had was how much we get out of it.
sure. Did you see your question answered?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our next item is item E, an administrative motion. This is authorizing the city manager to execute an addendum to the Central State University Fire EMS contract for a 1-year extension. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. The city has provided emergency medical and firefighting services to Central State since 2012. Both the university and the city have benefited from the service arrangement over the past number of years, and we subsequently executed extensions of the original contract for the continuation of these services. As the agreement has been beneficial to both the university and the city, we see no reason to discontinue it, and we are recommending that council authorize another 1-year extension of the services through the approval of this administrative motion that would allow us to add an addendum to that original contract for that 1-year extension.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. Do we have a motion to authorize the addendum to Central State for 1 more year?
I'll motion.
Okay, got a motion by the mayor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Vice President Wallace. Any discussion or,
I do have one question,
Questions?
President.
yes, Councilman Branham?
Does this factor in inflation from last year's to this year? Is there a rate increase just for the fact of, you know what I mean, of course, wages are going up, you know, wear and tear on vehicles go up, that sort of thing?
It does not. Part of the reason that we did not include any increases that we've actually, the overall service demand that we've had out there has been substantially below what we projected, so our costs have actually been quite a bit lower than what we had initially estimated. So benefit of, you know, I guess, goodwill, we did not include an escalator with.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing
For
none.
this, one question is, if, once we do proceed with the annexation, will this make this null and void because it'll be a part of what
Yeah.
they would be entitled to as?
One of the few service requirements in the state of Ohio for municipalities is fire service. Actually, emergency medical services are not required by municipalities, but fire services are. If the university would petition for annexation, if this council would approve that and it would ultimately be put in place, the services such as this, fire and police, would be automatic services, and therefore this contract would subsequently go away.
Null and void.
Seeing any other questions? All right, seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean,
Aye.
Councilman Branham,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor May,
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Got a lot to read here. The next is administrative motion F. This is ratifying collective bargaining agreement extensions with Greene County Communication Operators Association, the Xenia Police Officers Association, the Fraternal Order of Police, the Ohio Labor Council Incorporated, sergeants, and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council Incorporated for captains. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. 2020 marks the start of a new round of labor negotiations with our 7 different bargaining units. We have these 4 that start this year, and the next will move into 2021. The first of the 4 groups scheduled for renegotiation are these FOP units, and specifically these include our dispatchers, our police officers, police sergeants, and police captains. The collective bargaining negotiations process in 2020 obviously presents a very precarious situation for both the city as well as the unions, given the social and public health issues that we're dealing with, but perhaps more importantly because of the economic conditions that have been created by the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result of these conditions, particularly the uncertainty of the revenues that we will enjoy in the coming months or years, our inability to, at this point, effectively estimate where we think we're going to be at, we have had some conversation with these bargaining units about what's in everyone's best interest in terms of proceeding with these contracts. We previously had some discussion in executive session with council about this, and we have come to the conclusion with these bargaining units that it's in everyone's best interest to look at some shorter-term extensions to these contracts with just very limited changes to the conditions of the contracts. As a result of that, we're essentially looking at 1 year or less, 6-month extensions with largely the current conditions applying. In exchange for extensions signed with the current wages, the city did offer a one-time benefit of additional 24 hours of personal time for employees of these groups. As you recall, this really puts or keeps them in line with our overall time off standards as established by council with the additional holiday time that you approved earlier this year. So this keeps us consistent among the non-labor or non-union groups with these particular union groups as it relates to the total time off that we have in those benefits. So we wanted to make sure we were consistent with that. Obviously, these contracts can go up to 3 years. In this case, we think giving us another 6 months to a year will afford us the time that's necessary, or at least give us a better picture of what our finances look like and what, if any, commitment the city can make in terms of wages moving forward. So we're very thankful for these union groups for that willingness to freeze those wages, their current amounts, and if approved, we would go ahead and sign this, and we'd have an extension for 6 months, and then we'll see where in 6 months where we're at, and if we need another extension at that point, then we'll come back.
All right, thank you, Mr. City Manager. I also, too, would like to thank our city employees, our communication operators, officers, sergeants, and captains for their willingness to work with us with this unprecedented economic times, not knowing exactly how we're going to be impacted financially because of COVID-19. So at this time, would anyone like to make the motion to ratify these extensions?
I've been making
Thank
the
you.
last three, so
Okay.
I'll second the mayor's this time.
Oh, okay, so moved, sure, I don't mind.
Okay, I'm confused. Who did the
I've got a
motion?
motion,
Motion by the mayor,
And I'll
followed
second.
by second by Vice President Wallace.
motion by pressure.
Thank you very much. Any discussions or other comments from
I
my
would like to
colleagues?
make one comment, and
Yes,
I
sir.
do think this is a chance to provide accolades to the law director and the finance director and the city manager, because I frankly think that the fact that you all froze your situation, your salaries, was an incentive to and a good example to the unions, and hopefully that had something to do with that. But I do hope that when we get, if we ever get beyond this COVID-19 coronavirus situation, that the financial picture will look sufficiently good that all of you, our appointed officials, as well as our contract employees, will be able to be rewarded appropriately.
All right, thank you very much. Could I get a roll call on this, please?
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mayor?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Item G, also an administrative motion. This authorizes the city manager to execute a 2-year memorandum of understanding with Xenia Community Schools for the services of a school resource officer. Mr. City Manager, would you like to explain that?
Thank you, sir. The state of Ohio now requires law enforcement agencies that provide school resource officers for service in school district facilities to have in place some type of contractual agreement between the parties establishing expectations for that particular SRO program. The city has for many years provided a resource officer for Xenia High School with some carryover services to Warner Middle School. Given the state's requirement, it's necessary to put in place an MOU establishing expectations for the continuation of this SRO program. So this evening we present to City Council a request to authorize execution of an MOU with Xenia Community Schools for our SRO program. I apologize, it's alphabet soup. And this would take effect this August and go for 2 consecutive school years, so it would terminate in July of 2022. To continue the program thereafter, we would, of course, have to have a subsequent agreement. The MOU stipulates that the parties will split the cost of the services evenly, and for years, the city has covered the entire cost of this service, and so we have been able to negotiate, and we appreciate Xenia Community Schools' willingness to meet us halfway on that. And again, this is consistent with what council has authorized and what we're in the process of executing with the Greene County Career Center to cover that cost halfway. So with your concurrence on this evening, we'll go ahead and sign that, and we'll have that SRO program ready for continuation come this academic year in August.
Mr. City Manager, do we have a motion to execute the 2-year?
Before we do the question?
Yes, please.
I'll move the approval of
Okay.
passage.
All right, do we have a
I do
second?
have a question.
Okay, sure. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Branham, first by Vice President Wallace, City Clerk. I didn't know if you caught that. Okay, so Vice President Wallace, you have a question?
You were talking so swiftly that I wanted to be sure I heard you correctly. This is just pertaining to the Xenia Community Schools. However, in your explanation, I thought I heard you say that it would be consistent with what we have in place for the Career Center.
Correct. So we wanted to be consistent between these different institutions that we're working with, that we have the same basic financial platform. So we're splitting these costs 50-50. The salary and benefits costs for these officers for both Xenia Community Schools as well as the Greene County Career Center.
Awesome. That's what I want to be sure that we had consistency. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion or questions regarding this? I don't see any. Could I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Walsh?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Our next item, item H, listed as an administrative motion. This authorizes the city manager to execute an interagency agreement to continue the city's affiliation with the Greene County Public Safety Information Sharing Network, known as PSISN. And did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I gotta be careful how I say
Yeah,
that.
you may not want to sound out.
So, Mr. City Manager, could you share some information on this?
I will do so appropriately. Since 2008, the city has been party to an agreement for the participation, as you indicated, in the Greene County Public Safety Information Sharing Network. The goal of the group is to purchase and maintain public safety records management and dispatch systems with a county-wide license that can be used by all the participating agencies in Greene County, which of course includes the county itself, thus promoting interoperability among those different dispatch services, as well as making it much more cost-efficient for us. An extended agreement with Tyler Technologies for the systems has been in place, along with extended interagency agreements to facilitate this over a number of years. This dates back quite a few. An extended agreement with Tyler Technologies for the system has been approved, and it is necessary at this point to facilitate the ongoing relationship for council to approve our participation in the network moving forward. Presently, Greene County has entertained a 5-year agreement with Tyler Technologies, and so this would be a 5-year extension for the Public Safety Information Sharing Network as well. Tyler Technologies maintenance agreement calls for maintenance fees to remain the same for the first 3 years of this extension at $180,000 per year. Of that, Xenia's share is $36,000 annually. The amount of the city's share for maintenance costs will increase in years 4 and 5 by an agreement, by an amount not to exceed 4% of the previous year's maintenance. In addition to the $36,000 software maintenance fees, Xenia will incur charges of $12,000 annually for system maintenance, which includes hardware and maintenance and upgrades. Another $5,000 annually will go into a contingency fund to cover additional expenses incurred by the network during the contract period. I want to also reinforce that this group has done a great job with the county negotiating this. We have not had an increase in the maintenance contract in this in over 11 years. So that you're seeing a 4% increase is really only because it's been over a decade since we've had any contractual increase here. So with that being said, staff is recommending approval of this item this evening as an administrative motion that allows us to execute the new agreement and continue our participation in that network.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Do I have a motion to authorize the city manager to execute this agreement? Did you understand that, I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Mays. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilman Branham. Any discussion regarding this? See no discussion. Could I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean,
Aye.
Councilman Branham,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Our last item is also administration motion I. This is approving the schedule of bills in the amount of $1,072,168. Mr. Finance Director.
Thank you, Council President. There are two kind of out of the ordinary large expenditures on the bills. I think Mayor mentioning one is the Innovation Way project, which is pretty substantial. Again, some of that reimbursed by the county's contribution and then also paid for by a bond issue. And then the second being, again, for our meter reading and some of the installation that they've done here over the last couple of weeks. So those are two pretty substantial amounts that are contributing to a fairly large schedule of bills this meeting.
Thank
That's
you
all I
very
have.
much. Do we have a motion to pay the bills tonight? Motion by Councilwoman Dean. Thank you. Do we have a second? Second by Vice President Wallace? Is that correct? A little hard to hear up here. I apologize for that. Any discussion or questions regarding the schedule of bills for tonight? All right, seeing none, could I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean,
Aye.
Councilman Branham,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Our next item is appointed officials' reports and councilman comments. I'll start with our city manager.
Thank you, sir. A couple of items to note this evening. First, without getting into the particulars of the politics and all of that, it is important for me to point out to our public that effective tomorrow, when entering our facilities, folks will have to have face masks, and so we encourage that. We will have disposable ones available, but we encourage folks to bring those in just to reduce that cost. Second, we are still in the process of evaluating a number of fall activities that we would typically have, our neighborhood night out events, for example. We have not yet made a determination about whether or not to move forward with some of those activities. I can tell folks, however, that we have made the decision to discontinue any additional shelter reservations at Xenia, or at Shawnee Park for the remainder of this year. At this point, it's just too difficult to manage, and we just can't guarantee the service the way we'd like to, so we're no longer taking those reservations this year.
That includes the pavilion, of course. It's everything.
Yes, that's correct. Mhm. And then finally, wanted to give a shout out to our Xenia Public Service staff for their excellent efforts over the course of this week to help with a local cleanup. A number of our neighborhoods were hit pretty hard late this past weekend with some storm damage. Typically, we do not provide that branch and a wood pickup, but during these storm events we try to do that, and we have provided that service this week. I think they're about done. There are some locations where we've gotten some additional calls, asked for some pickups. We can still do that on a spot basis, but I think they've gotten most of those areas cleaned up. There actually was quite a bit more damage than I think we first estimated. Crews, literally several crews have been out all week this week working on the cleanup, so we appreciate their efforts, and if folks do need some additional assistance, they can feel free to call our Public Service Department and try to provide some help.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Is there any help for some of our elderly residents who have rather large branches in the backyard? Like they're, for people like for myself, my mother, now we have family and we can take care of that, but it made me pause and think, are there those who have some large branches who don't have somebody they can call and say, can you please come drag this to the curb so the city will get it? I know it's not the city's
Yeah.
responsibility. I know that.
Yeah.
But have we considered going that extra step for a few folks who could use that?
You know, Mayor, I can't say that I can reference any specific individuals or groups that can help provide that. On a case-by-case basis, we may be able to. We are prohibited by insurance from doing any actual clearing. There are some standards that we have to apply relative to insurance.
Okay.
What do I want to say? Cutting down trees is a very risky proposition.
Right, and I'm not talking
we don't
about
do a
that
whole
at
lot of
all.
it within the
I'm
city
not
as well.
talking about
But
that at all.
certainly, if it's in a front yard, we'll help to move it, that sort of thing.
That's really
and if
more
folks are experiencing some real challenges, contact us. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I did observe one thing. I did observe it, actually. I heard about it, but that tree that fell across East Market Street, almost in front of the mayor's house. You guys did do an awesome job. I mean, absolutely awesome. It went down at, what, 5 or 6 o'clock or 7, and I heard, at 8, I heard the chainsaws cutting it up and getting it out of the way. But, I mean, it was blocking the city street. But it was just, you really performed on that case. So Public Works just never ceases to amaze me when they decide to get something done, they get it done.
Yeah, and again, doesn't matter the time of day or the day of the week. They're there
Sunday
for
night.
service. Yeah, right, exactly the point. So they'll be out to help. No, we appreciate it. They did a great job, and they deserve a pat on the back.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Shayman?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Finance Director?
Yeah, so we just wrapped up a fairly busy tax season, and want to thank all of our employees in our tax division who did a fantastic job. The filing process went really smoothly. We weren't quite sure what to expect with COVID and some of the new parameters for social distancing, but they managed to keep the lines moving very quickly. We also had great participation from the public. A lot of people who chose to file electronically this year who wouldn't have necessarily done that in the past. I will say we are still down a significant number of returns from prior years, so I think the filing date has kind of still messed with some people, and as far as them knowing when to file and what to file. Sometimes people get a little confused with federal, state, and city and school and what they have or haven't filed. So we've usually got letters out at this point in the year to people and have received a lot of those returns back. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but I do know that July has been a good month for us. We're up substantially from last July. We're still going to be down year to date, but it's going to help to fill some of that gap. So we started to make some gains on some of the losses that we had there in April and May. So that's some positive progress. We're still, I would estimate right now, at the end of the month, I would say we're probably going to be down about $400,000 from where we were last year in income tax revenue, which isn't good, but it's also not catastrophic.
But last year was up. And
last year was up, a really good year last year, and so we'll see how the rest of the year plays out. But I think July has gone fairly well. What we had hoped to see in some of that recovery, we have seen. So we'll continue to monitor that as we get more and more returns in. But the process went really smoothly. So we're pleased to have been through that, and we'll keep working to try to get the word out to those people who haven't yet filed. And that's all I've got this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Finance Director. Appreciate your time today. I know I've talked to you about a couple issues in the last week, so thank you for always being available. Does anyone have anything else for the Finance Director tonight? All right, seeing none. Madam Law Director, thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
What do you have for us tonight?
I just have one thing I wanted to make you aware of. The Ohio Municipal Attorneys Association, our mailing list lit up last week. Letters were starting to come in about the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy. I don't know if you've heard of this. Purdue Pharma was one of the biggest manufacturers of opioids. Rather than face a lot of the lawsuits, they filed for bankruptcy. We received letters that we can file for claim. Been in discussion pretty much for 3 or 4 days with other law directors around the state. I will be filing on behalf of the city as part of that consolidated claim. We don't know how much we'll be getting because this, of course, is for all cities all over the country, but some is better than nothing. And if it can help offset any of the costs that police or fire have experienced in responding to the opioid crisis, then it's worth something. So we've got till July 30th, still finalizing the numbers. It looks like using their calculator as part of the claim is going to get us the highest return, but we will be filing a claim in that case.
All right, thank you very much. Anything we can do as a council to help you with that?
I'm sorry?
Anything we can do as a council? Does she need any action for that, or?
No.
No? Okay, all right. Do any of my colleagues have anything else for the law director tonight?
I just appreciate her staying on top of everything she does, to stay on top of opportunities to help us financially, and also to make sure that we stay in line with the law. We appreciate you, madam.
All right, thank you for being
Well,
on the
and just so you know, this is separate than the case that the Ohio Attorney General has currently filed. I'll be with other state attorney generals on behalf of the cities against. This is separate from that case. So we've actually got two different claims going right now.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll go around the table. I'll save the mayor for last. How's that? Okay. So we'll start with Councilwoman Dean. Anything for tonight?
I don't have anything tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Councilman Branham, what do you have tonight?
I just want to bring up thank you to the Public Service Department for taking care of the brush. I know that they were very adamant to be out there right as the ball dropped. I know we received an email shortly after, and they were really on it and taking care of business, which I like to see. As it recalls to the fall sports, I surely hope that we can try to push for the fishing derby. I know it's tough, but I know those kids really enjoyed that back when I worked at the Public Service Department. They enjoyed coming in and getting their fishing gear and prizes, and I know that kind of brought the community together as well. And I know the person that typically ran it was always, he was great, gave up his time, energy, and seeked a lot of donations, and was a great individual. As it goes for the Tennessee Drive case, that's my community over there. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm the support for that side of town. I love that my side of town, I guess you can say, unquote, is coming together, seeking for change. And tonight, on my way to the council meeting, I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna drive the full distance to Tennessee Drive. From the start to the end, there's absolutely no speed limit signs. I know there's a lot of kids, I grew up on that street, so I do appreciate all the citizens coming together and voicing their concerns with that.
We got a report of someone speeding down there about 5:30 this evening, so.
No, I actually paid attention, you know, there's times too many people are doing this, texting and this and that, but, so no, I do encourage folks to pay attention to the speed limit signs, drive the speed limit, and, take
But
care.
they need to have some signs in order.
I will say that is rough. I looked all the way from down Colorado, and I understand the whole methodology behind it, cost of signs and this and that. But our Public Service Department does create those signs themselves. We have the capability of doing that, and driving down Colorado, looking down every single side street, there was not a single speed limit sign. There's of course some on Colorado, but at least with Tennessee, it is kind of became a new thoroughfare to the back Sterling Green plat. And I do think that should definitely be addressed at minimum with speed limit signs. I understand that cops cannot sit out on anybody's street for, you know, an extended period of time because of different scenarios that go on with the city, whether that be, you know, the opioid, you know, quick response to different situations and that sort of thing. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Dean.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have anything to add tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll go to Vice President Wallace.
I would like to thank my colleagues for excusing me last week, and because I had fully anticipated to be here all up until almost time to get here, and I was feeling a little under the weather, so I do appreciate your excusing me for last week. And again, I'd like to add my the appreciation to the Public Works folks. I couldn't believe when I got one phone, my son came in and told me that the tree was down on East Market Street at about 6 or 6:15, and it was within the hour, I guess, they were out there with the chainsaws getting it down, and I didn't get out until today, actually, to see the tree where it had twisted. Literally, it must have been struck by lightning, because there was no decay or rot or anything. It was just looked like it had been twisted around like a switch. But it was a tree that was very, very good size. And so I can imagine that they had their hands full getting it out of the street. And of course that stopped all the eastbound traffic on East Market Street. So I just appreciate the fact that our guys and gals, I guess, do a marvelous job, and we thank them for the work that they're doing. Is it too soon, Ryan, to get any feedback from our water meter installation yet? Because I just got my latest bill in, and it was a little on the higher side than it had been, so.
Yeah, I can address that.
I assumed it was my kids in the hose.
That's,
Well, I had a leaky faucet in the shower, so I was thinking it might have been that, but I thought I'd better ask.
that's not unique to you. Essentially what happened is, when they read the meters, let's say they read it in late June, and then if they replaced your meter in early July, they would have put the reading from when they replaced it into the system. It would have overwrote that first reading. So when you're being billed, you're really being billed for, let's say, 45 days of use instead of 30. And so on your next bill, when it's read, you only have like 15 days worth of usage that'll be on there. So it's really a timing issue. So your next bill, you should see that reduction. It's just that in our system, as we do that replacement, there's no way for us to have two separate readings. We have to, when we're taking that meter out, we have to document what the reading is at the point where we take it out. So the timing of the days is a little longer. So we've actually got a lot of calls, I would say, literally probably 150 calls in the last couple of days from people who have the same concerns as you. It's legitimate, the bill is higher, there's probably abnormally high usage, but you should see it correct on the back end, because the next time that we read it, it's going to be for a much shorter period than what's typical. So
you're saying I owe my children an apology?
Yes, yes.
that could be correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace. Mayor Mays.
Thank you, sir. I'll just tag on to something that Councilman Brandon was talking about. I actually got several emails in the last couple of weeks about King Street as well. The speeding on King Street, there's a lot of frustration. I live on East Market. We have a lot of speeding. I'm going to publicly call out our county sheriffs. It's a real problem, and we have a problem with people going the wrong way. But I mention that because it is hard. We cannot park an officer on one street. There's things that can be done, but I want to call out our community. I was driving down our street just this week, not speeding, and a child went out in front of me, and it was terrifying. There was tears everywhere because it could have been a horrible situation, and thank the Lord that I was able to stop in time. But if I had been speeding, it would have been terrible. And I want to say to our community, this is not unique to one street. There are a few streets that turn into thoroughfares like Tennessee and King Street, and then they get a lot of speeding, but this is on our community, people, and this is on you to slow down. And our police can help, but they cannot be there 24/7. So, and I want to be very careful tonight to not be political in any way. I just want to also encourage our community to be compassionate. And I say that from a personal standpoint of helping my children understand what's going on. And there's a lot of anxiety with one of my children that has a lot of stress. And when it comes to masks and whatnot and wearing and not wearing, I couldn't care less what anybody does. I just want to say to remember that each of us has a family and we have reasons for what we do personally, and it's a personal issue. And to hopefully encourage our community, one, slow down, and encourage our community to be compassionate, to be respectful, and to take a breath. Let's all take a deep breath together and remember that we all have things going on behind the scenes that each other doesn't know about. And so I just want to remind us of that, and to really, I said it a few weeks ago, we need to dig deep and find that compassion, that kindness, and really pour into each other that way and be the community that loves each other well, the city of hospitality. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Mays. Thank you for how busy you are in our community. Tonight, I'd like to publicly thank Dr. Jack Thomas from Central State for being here tonight. Didn't get a whole lot of notice on that either, and I think appreciate his willingness to come and introduce himself as part of our community. Also, I would like to just mention Councilman Scrivens and hope he feels better. He set a good example tonight. If you're ill, you don't feel good, stay home. Don't go out, don't infect people. because you could be asymptomatic and not know it. So, again, also, like the mayor said, I don't want to be political either. People have to do what they feel is right. So, enough being said, I know there's enough division in our country. We don't need it in our community as well. But, just keep in mind that in the next month, your schools have a lot of decisions to make. No matter which direction they go, they won't even appease the majority or half the majority because a lot of schools are doing in-house or in-person, but some are doing remote and some are doing a mixture. And it's just, it's a hot mess. I felt for teachers. I wore this just for a little bit tonight. It's not comfortable. It's hard. It's very difficult to breathe. It's difficult to talk. So I can imagine what they're going through. So to do that all day. So, but again, there are mandates and rules for reasons, and we have to do what we feel is best. So with that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Wallace. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Dean. And again, thank you for those that are watching tonight, and thank you for those in attendance. Can I get a roll call, please?
Vice President Wallace,
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean,
Aye.
Councilman Brandon,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much.